So the reason that May King is, to me, the preeminent Twitter trainer in this country is because she's developed a system of communicating with exactly the right sort of people and leveraging the technology in the platform to really grow her business and her influence. Okay? The fact that she's also our preeminent tea expert makes it even more significant to me. Because when you're thinking about celebrities or, I guess, home brands or names that spring right to mind, you're probably not thinking of your local tea expert. But May King's been able to leverage the platform in order to become a worldwide celebrity in her niche. And she's going to teach us all to do exactly the same for each of our niches and our markets. Thank you, May King.
Yeah. May King.
Click up and it's on.
Well, thank you for making me blush. Zoe, that's awesome. My name is Tsang. My first name is May King, and I have a business called Making Tea. And I'm a tea rock star. That's who I am. I am Australia's only certified tea specialist, one of the top 50 speakers of tea in the world. But I love small business, and when I moved over to Brisbane 4 years ago, you can probably hear from my accent, I'm not from around these parts. I'm BBC, British born Chinese. And so I didn't know anybody coming to Brisbane, and so I had to get myself known. And so I actually embraced Twitter to try and get in touch with a few business owners. In order to build relationships with people, I formed Queensland Business. So Queensland Business, it's been mentioned a few times today, and some of us are members, which is great. Thank you for joining us. There are 5,000 plus members there now, and we all help, share, collaborate. So it's not a group to promote to each other, but it's about building relationships. Now from Queensland Business, Phil and myself and another wonderful business partner, we formed the Likeability Company, where we help people like you. So what's happened in the last couple of days is that Zoe's talked about social media, and the whole idea is to become social. We no longer can hide behind our logos anymore. People want to know the person behind the brand. People want to know and connect with that person, because if people like you, they're more likely to buy from you. And that's what we're trying to teach and encourage people in the Likeability Company. Now with Queensland Business, it's supported a lot of business owners. Sometimes they want a referral, sometimes they just want to tear their hair out and say, oh, I need help on. And so whilst there are lots of networking groups out there, lots of business referral groups, mastermind groups and so on, one thing that hasn't been dealt with is the emotional side of running a business. And so hopefully, if I'm allowed to stay in the country, Mr. Immigration Minister, I am going to be launching a new business called Podpora, which is a place where we will be able to share our experiences. Just having a pod, we're going to call it, of like-minded business owners to come to the group and say, I need help on, or I'm having a bad day because, with no judgment, but with the power to help each other. So that's what Podpora is about. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. But I want to talk very briefly a little bit on Twitter, and then especially on hashtags. So if you imagine Facebook is a party with your mates, and you tell each other what it is you're doing, this, that and the other. Twitter is more of a party that you might have in a corporate setting. So let's say that we're all business owners here, but some of you may have worked in the corporate space where maybe you only know the host of the party, but you've been invited to come with to meet other colleagues. Let's supposing that you're quite new to the company. So you go to this party that you've been invited to. The host is running around ragged, so you need to entertain yourself. So you go to the bar, order a drink. You may talk to the person next to you and just strike up a conversation. And us women, we love to compliment each other on our shoes and handbags and so on. So it's easy to start a conversation. With us chaps, then we may comment on the beer. I'm being really sexist here. But you strike up a conversation. Now let's suppose you had a really interesting conversation with that person, and he or she has invited you to follow them. and follow them to his or her group of friends. So when you follow them and you end up in this circle, you end up listening to a couple of people who are talking. Now there may be 10 or 15 people in the group, but there's only 2 people talking. And then you may hop into the conversation and chat, but you're all listening. Now that's what Twitter is all about. It's not necessarily who you are talking to, but it's who's listening. And with a lot of the gigs that I've had, it's because of me talking to somebody, but someone else has been listening or stalking or checking me out, however you want to call it. But if you're not talking on Twitter, you're never going to get found out. Okay? And you don't need to promote your business. You don't need to say what it is you do, this, that, and the other, because it's all there in your information, it's all there in your bio. But you need to get into the conversation. So this is how typically people use Twitter. With the first one, you can see that we've got a link from Facebook to Twitter. Now, if all of your tweets have that Facebook link, fb.me, and a whole series of letters and numbers, people know immediately that you're not really engaging in Twitter. It's kind of like saying a data entry person in Excel, saying they've got 10-15 years experience in Excel, but all they've done is just entered data. Nothing wrong with that profession, but there's macros and charts and formulas and all sorts of things. And that's what a lot of people are doing at the moment. They hear, oh, I better go on Twitter, but I haven't got the time, so I'll just post everything that I've got from Facebook to Twitter. Now, the second tweet is a little bit more conversational, it's a bit more informative. It still has that Facebook link, so this person is doing it slightly better. And then the third one is even better still. They've actually used a hashtag. The hashtag is weekend question. It's quite a generic hashtag, so it's possibly not going to get found immediately, but at least they are engaging in Twitter a little bit more. And then the last person has gone a little bit crazy with the hashtags, as you can see, and it's just too much, way too much. And then finally there is a Facebook link there. So that's how most people use Twitter. Now, this particular chap is a Twitter friend of mine, and we actually had a tweet up when I was in the UK. And I love this particular tweet. He says, stop trying to go from stranger to sale in one tweet. It's never, ever going to happen. And that's what actually happens in Facebook, or with a lot of the social media platforms. People have a business, they're so passionate about it, they just want you to buy from them. So they'll say, buy my book, buy my product, here's my discount. But if you don't build a relationship, you're never going to get anywhere. So with tweeting, it's really about engaging and getting into the conversation. And I've just written down very briefly what Twitter is great for. What I found it's great for is for listening and learning. So as I say, I moved to Brisbane 4 years ago and didn't know a single person. I found a couple of people to tweet with, started getting into the conversation and listened to what it is they were talking about. Because I wanted to meet with like-minded business owners, connect with like-minded business owners, and also connect with the beautiful people in Brisbane and Australia. Twitter is great for relationship building. As I say, you're not going to build relationships by asking people to sell your product or to buy your product in one tweet. But as you get into the conversation, and if people really like your tweets, your conversational tweets, then they will be inquisitive enough to find out what it is who it is you are and what it is you do. Queensland Business, our tagline is help, share, collaborate, and you can do that on Twitter. So how do you help people? Well, you share the information. So Zoe has the hashtag SMPros14, and because I want to associate myself with an amazing social media rock star, I've learned a lot from her in the last couple of days. So my way of expressing gratitude to her is by telling the world how amazing she is. And all the golden nuggets of information that I have learned in the last couple of days, not all of them, some of them, I've shared with the outside world. And just looking on Twitter, we've got some reach in the US as well as Australia as well, as a result of some of the people that have reshared retweeted some of the tweets that I've put out there. So what I'm doing is expressing gratitude to Zoe by sharing the information out there. The tweets are no longer about me. When you're building relationships, it shouldn't be about you, it should be about the other person. Who has read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People? Yeah? So How to Win Friends and Influence People is an amazing book, and I do recommend you read it and read it again, because if you start talking to another person and talk and ask questions of that other person, then they're going to like you, they're more likely to like you, and then you can build that relationship, and then when the time is right, then they may buy from you or refer business onto you. So that's what Twitter is great for. Now, everyone Googles or uses Bing as their search engine, and if I want to compete with somebody else, if I see another, I personally don't believe in competition, but for those that do, if you want to compete against your competitors, what are you going to compete with? It's not just price, it's about quality of service. And so I want to prove that I am a rock star in my field. You need to prove that you are a rock star in your field. And how do you do that? You share great information. It's not about you, it's about sharing information about the tourism industry or WordPress sites or whatever industry you are in. And sharing great content, writing great content and putting it out there. That's what Twitter is great for. So once you've proven that you are a rock star in your field, then people might buy from you if you've developed that relationship in the first place. You can promote and you can advertise, but for every 10 tweets that I might do, one of them might be about me or 2 of them might be about me. And it has to be in that ratio. I think Zoe mentioned about 30%. So I don't like self-promotion, so I do about 10%. But it's entirely up to you. And sometimes I might promote more and sometimes less. It's great for publicity. I've been on TV, been on the radio, I've been in the Courier Mail a couple of times, and all of that came through Twitter, where I just developed a conversation with a journalist, and then some magic happened. And then, of course, I've made money on Twitter as well. But as this picture, as you can see from this picture, it's all a big balancing act. You know, if you just promote yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. If you just build relationships and don't do anything at the end of it, you're not going to make any money. So it has to be a balancing between all of those bits and pieces. Now, what do they say about Vegas? What happens in Vegas? Stays in Vegas. That's what happens in Facebook. Okay. Now, with Queensland Business, it's a closed business group, and Phil writes a lot of information to help people in the group. So do I, so do a lot of members. But if I was to Google Queensland Business, it will tell me that I've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group. None of the comments, none of the activity that's going on in the group is Googleable. Is that a word? Yeah. With Twitter, however, potentially you are increasing your chance of being found on Google by getting into the Twitter sphere and tweeting. So there's been times where I've Googled myself, and I do encourage you to Google yourself from time to time just to see how your social media activity is going. And Phil, you normally have something to say about Googling yourself, don't you?
My mum always said I'd go blind if I Googled myself.
So when I've Googled myself from time to time, I've seen that actually a few of my tweets have popped up on page 1 and page 2 of Google. So you're increasing your chance of being found on Google if you're tweeting. Now there is a link to a website. These presentation slides will be available to you after the class. And in this article it said in 2013 400,000 Australians left Facebook because of this concept of Facebook fatigue. You know, how many of you have looked in the news feed and then next minute 10-20 minutes have gone because you're having a bit of a nosy seeing what everyone else is doing. And in Twitter you do have a news feed, but you can ignore all of that. So Zoe recommends using Hootsuite so that you can get focused on your message and broadcast one message to more than one social media application. So you can avoid that Facebook fatigue on Twitter by not looking at the newsfeed at all. So if you want to be Googled, it'll increase your chance of being found on Google then get into the conversation. Now, this is just a collection of the keynote speaking gigs that I've had as a result of my activity on Twitter. So there was a law firm in the city. They Googled something like high tea Brisbane, something like that, and Clayton Oots found me, and we did a high tea, which is pretty amazing. Brisbane Council, they had a Chinese New Year, and they wanted someone to perform Chinese Gong Fu tea ceremony, which is one of the many talents that I do in the space of tea. They found me, they Googled me, they checked me out, and they emailed me, loved me of course, and then I was hired to do that. My biggest accolade, I suppose, is I love art. And when the Gallery of Modern Art actually approached me to perform Chinese Gong Fu tea ceremony, that was pretty amazing. And again, they Googled something like tea ceremony Brisbane, and up I popped everywhere. They stalked me, checked me out, had a look at what it is I do, interviewed me, and of course they loved me. And then I ended up being associated with Tsang. Tsang is the creative director for the opening and closing Beijing Olympics. How cool is that? I got to work with a global artist. That was pretty amazing. So I ended up serving, I think it was 2,000 cups of tea, 70,000 cups of iced tea was given to a lot of people, but that was because of the activities that I've done on Twitter and social media in general. Okay, so let's go on to hashtags now, shall we? So, a hashtag, according to this dictionary, is a word or phrase preceded by a hash sign or pound sign used on social media sites such as Twitter to identify messages on a specific topic. So, if you were to search in Twitter on SMN Pros 14, you'll see all the tweets that have happened in the last 2 or 3 days. Now, for those of us who were unable to attend this session, then people outside Twitter will be able to search on that hashtag and see what golden nuggets of information we have learned in the last few days. So that's what hashtag is great for. The link at the bottom here just gives you a bit of a history on hashtags, how they originated. It came to prominence in 2009 by Twitter, but it was actually started in 2007, the idea kind of occurred. And Facebook took it on board in 2013, but it really didn't take off. But it's very powerful in other social media sites such as Google Plus and Pinterest and of course Instagram. So, I mentioned what Twitter is good for. Hashtags is also great for relationship building too. So when I first moved here, I think I must have searched on something like business, Australia, Brisbane, something like that. And came across this particular lady. We struck up a conversation, journey jottings, and then we actually met up in Brisbane. And because I didn't know anybody or anything in Brisbane, I had to ask a lot of questions. I didn't even know where to buy batteries, for example. So I actually asked Linda, and she was able to point me to JB Hi-Fi, I think it was. Now, I don't believe in competition, so whenever I see a tea company that comes to prominence, and if they have great information or a great meme, then I will share it. And so I've actually developed a global tea community, and in building that relationship with the tea community, it sort of elevated my presence as an international tea rock star. But this particular lady, Sassy Allard, she actually saw my immigration concerns last year when an online petition went out to try and help persuade me to stay in the country. And she got to know me as a person. And when she got to know me as a person, and she realised that I was getting all this help on this online petition, she thought, oh wow, this woman's pretty cool. So again, she Googled me and so on, found out what it is I do. She was so excited because she was about to start a tea business. How cool is that? So she actually approached me, and I'm currently helping her in launching her tea business at the moment. So as well as being a keynote speaker and hired to talk about tea, I'm a tea business mentor and consultant as well. So hashtags are great for brand awareness. We talked about relationship building, but we are in business to to raise awareness about our mission. And so these are, there's 3 hashtags here that 3 companies particularly well. One of them was Domino's Pizza. So in the UK, they launched this hashtag, Let's Do Lunch, and there's lots of articles that you can Google to find out about that strategy. And what they did was they pledged that they would reduce their pizzas by a penny every time someone used the hashtag Let's Do Lunch. So 85,000 tweets went out, so the pizzas went from $15.99 to $7.55, I think it was, and they pledged that they would have it at that price. So it was more than a 50% discount between the hours of 9 and 11. So you can make the order and then pick it up later on. So that was pretty cool. Burger King, or Hungry Jacks, they had a hashtag, well, they actually tested and measured 2 hashtags. So they had one called Satisfried and Satisfries to showcase their French fries, which were healthier. And so this one won out, Satisfries, but when you're using hashtags, it's a good idea to test and measure, like Burger King did, to see which ones are most effective for you. Hashtags are great for political causes, environmental causes, charitable causes. In UNICEF India, they had hashtag Awaaz where they wanted to pledge to have a number of Indian children to get back into schools. And they enlisted 2 Bollywood stars to help them with that. And so this hashtag was quite effective for that particular campaign. Now, I mentioned that in relationship building, in brand awareness, in getting people to know who you are, the written word can be interpreted in a lot of ways. So if you want people to like you and build a rapport with you, then you may want to inject some humour into your tweets, or, as I like to say, personality. So I like tea puns. This particular client of mine in the States, Tea Galaxy, he was telling me about this tea that he's just discovered, a Japanese tea called matcha, and he said that he believes it gave him loads of energy. So I said, was it your cup of tea? And hashtag, I never tire of cracking that joke. And so it, got a little bit of a titter. So hashtags just allow you to inject a bit of sarcasm if you want to, a little bit of wit, a bit of humour, just lightens the tweets and just enables people to get to know who you are as a person. Now, sometimes you may see really long hashtags, and they're really difficult to read, so I wouldn't do that on a regular basis. But as I say, it just allows people to get to know the person behind your logo or the person behind your photograph. And according to Buddy Media, tweets containing hashtags receive about 55% more engagement. Now, hashtags can be used effectively, and they can also be used terribly. So this is just a couple of instances where big companies didn't use them effectively, and they hijacked an existing tweet. So McDonald's, this wasn't a hijacking, but they wanted people to share their positive stories around having a burger or fries and what have you. And unfortunately, people were using it to bash McDonald's, so it's known as a bash tag, not a hashtag. Yes. So McD stories, one particular lady chipped her tooth on it. Someone mentioned about how they became a vegan as a result. There was another tweet how they lost lots of weight as a result of not working at McDonald's anymore, and there was all these horrible, horrible stories. Now, what was interesting was that the hashtag went out for just 2 hours, and they took the hashtag down after all these horrible stories that came through. Unfortunately, a lot of journalists jumped in on that, and that hashtag, because it's been on the internet, it'll stay up there forever. This story is 2012, so it's 2 years old, and I'm still talking about it. So yeah, you can use hashtags ineffectively. So another couple of companies, Habitat in the UK, and also Kenneth Cole, political uprisings, Iran elections, they decided to capitalise on that hashtag in order to promote their own business, and of course they got a lot of backlash as a result of that. So if you are going to use someone else's hashtag, that's absolutely fine, but don't use it for, you have to be sensitive about the hashtag itself. Now, one strategy you could use, I talked about how to use social media to prove that you are a rock star in your field. One of the ways in which you can do that is offer yourself up for questions. So a live chat, you can just say, I'm available for a live chat for half an hour or an hour, and invite people to ask you questions on your particular expertise. So this is a makeup company, and they had a live chat available for half an hour, invited people to talk about makeup. The one in the middle is a live chat to learn more about content marketing, and they'll always have a hashtag with that. And one hashtag that you probably know or probably not if you follow news is on a Monday you've got Q&A, and that is absolutely amazing, the amount of content that you get through Q&A. A lot of humour, a lot of sarcasm is injected into a lot of tweets, very entertaining, but it's an effective use of hashtagging. Another way in which you can use hashtags is to live tweet. I love live tweeting, so that's effectively what I've been doing in the last 3 days. Now, as a tea specialist, I want to associate myself with great tea companies, associate myself with fine wine, fine food, fine beverages, and so on. So I was invited to speak at the Queensland Garden Expo a couple of years ago in Nambour, and because I want to associate myself with this amazing festival, I tweeted about them. And so I took pictures of some of the local stalls, some of the speakers I listened to, and I tweeted about them, gave them a bit of publicity, and remember, it's about them. You know, if I talk about them, they may think, oh, that's very nice, that making's quite a lovely girl, and so might engage into a conversation with me. I also did that for ECHA as well, so the last 3 years I've been invited to speak at ECHA. And I tweet about some of the stall holders, tweet about the other people that are there, and experienced my first diagnosed dog a couple of years ago, which was interesting. I put up a picture of that out there. Now, what was interesting is because of my constant tweeting, me wanting to associate my brand with other amazing companies out there, my tweets are picked up by a few people, and they actually went to the event as a result of my tweeting, which is pretty cool. I don't get anything out of it financially, but I'm associating myself with top key influencers. I also tweeted on behalf of Content Marketing Cardiology, who's a business partner of mine with Phil in the Likability Company. And with my tweeting, doing some live tweeting while she was doing a webinar, a few of the tweets got picked up by, I think it was a couple of people in America. So again, it's not about me, it's about the other people that I want to associate myself with. And the Real Food Festival as well, I was doing some tweeting there. So as you can see, I love my tea puns. Live tweeting equals publicity, visibility, and credibility. Okay? Now, my greatest accolade with live tweeting is that with the Likability Company, Phil, Caroline and I, and a few other QVG members, we went to KPI, Key Persons of Influence. Has anyone been to that event? Pretty amazing event. You get to hear some amazing speakers that encourage you to become the rock star in your field, become that key person of influence. Now, we approached KPI and we said, we would like to do some live tweeting for you, thank you very much, and we did. And so we tweeted for them, and you can see the top 10 influencers on the left-hand side. KPI Method is their Twitter name. And of course, they're going to be #1 influencer because 700 people went to that event. But you can see that I'm #2 because I love tweeting. And Likability Company, we were #3. We also had a couple of QVG members there as well in the top 10, and the rest of them were KPI authors, which is KPI speakers, which is pretty amazing. And when I got to speak to David Dugan, who was the host for the event, Glenn Carlson actually jumped on stage and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing at tweeting." And I thought, thank you very much. So it was pretty cool to be associated with that particular chap. And one guy who I got talking to on Twitter, he actually wrote a blog post about it, and that's permanently displayed on the internet, which is pretty cool. So my name is squeezed in between Glenn Carlson and Reality Damage, which is the company that